Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to tackle 2011s and holsters. I'm hoping I can do this quickly, but the reality is there's a lot of nuances to be able to get all the information in there, and I'm not going to talk about one specific holster. I've got a few that I've used here. This isn't by no means an extensive list or an exhaustive list. It's just what I've seen work, and hopefully you can find the right holster for the gun that you have, the place you want to carry, and the options, the optic, and the like that you've got. So before we get into that, the reason that I want to do this is because I get this question a lot working for Alchemy Custom Weaponry, who makes a 2011, the Quantico high cap that we've got here. Also, I'm a big 2011 and 1911 fan. Got one from Triarch. I've got the Vulcaned out Staccato P here. So it's not as simple as just going out and grabbing a Glock 19 holster, because there's a few different nuances to the 2011 world, and we'll dive into that. So the biggest thing that's going to make it difficult to find a universal holster for your 2011 is the slide top profile and the overall length of the gun. So the Quantico high cap here is a round top profile. You'll see this on some Nighthawks as well, where the actual slide is rounded all the way over the top, as opposed to the Staccato, which is a flat top. So it's got rounded sides, but the top of the slide is actually a little bit lower. And then you get down here to the Triarch, which is a tri-top, and you'll see this a lot on some other Nighthawks, as well as the Atlas guns. Tri-tops are being more popular than ever. And then I guess the round top would also go with like the Fowler Vanta 9. So it's difficult because these different slide top profiles make the overall height of the gun different, makes the way that the retention is going to be on the top of the slide, if they're using the slide for retention, different. So it is a very complicated and convoluted game to get into, but I'm going to try to help you out and direct you in some things that I found. So figure round top is Quantico, flat top is Staccato, tri-top is the Triarch, and insert whatever 2011 you have in here and whatever slide top profile that they have. So first, let's talk about appendix inside the waistband holsters. This right here is the LAS concealment sidecar style rig, where you can put the gun in right here, and then you can also put a holster in, or a magazine in the holster here, and carry an appendix and, you know, have your gun and have an extra magazine. So this is the first holster I got. My first 2011 was a Triarch, so I purchased it specifically for a Triarch, but I got it for the government size. Now, I ended up for a minute there having a Triarch tri-top Commander, and what I didn't want was all this extra plastic here. So this is offered in a government length holster, and so what I did is I actually chopped it and made it so that if a Commander was in there, I didn't have this the extra plastic there, but with the government, yeah, the muzzle was sticking out, no big deal. But bear in mind, fucking motherfucker. But bear in mind, on the LAS concealment holsters, they specifically call out Triarch being a tri-top slide for their holsters, whereas the Staccato is a round top. Now, will it fit in the tri-top? Yes, but it is a little bit more snug. So you're going to want to get the Staccato specific version if you have a Staccato, or if you have a round top like the Quantico high cap. I have personally moved away from sidecar style holsters just because that's a lot to be carrying appendix, especially with a 2011 that's a heavy gun as it is, and these tend to ride a little bit higher. Great holster, just not really for me anymore. So what I'm doing is I'm going with a single, no sidecar appendix inside the waistband holster, and the one that I have here is from Tenacor. This is the Tenacor Certum 3. So this is good because it actually perfectly fits a tri-top gun. You can see that right there. It also fits your flat top Staccato, and it will fit your round top Quantico or Nighthawk or whatever. So this has been the most universal holster fit that I found. Now, what I did do again is I cut off the bottom of the holster here because I purchased one for a Commander length gun, and there was just more extra plastic down here than I needed, and I found that it kind of dug into my thigh. So when you put a full length gun in there, the muzzle is going to stick out a little bit, but it's really not a dangerous thing. It's just, do you want a little bit of your muzzle touching your leg? It's not like it's actually protecting you from negligent discharges or anything. The one thing that I really like about the Tenacor Certum is these clips. These little metal clips really secure it to your belt. Have a good belt for sure if you're going to be carrying appendix. And it sits at a real nice ride height. Now, 2011 holsters, I'll just get this out of the way. 2011 holsters will most often work with single stack 1911 guns just because of the way the trigger guard is. You know, there's a chance that it will work. Most of the time, it will not go the other way around because the gun itself on a 2011 flares out at the top. So if you try to put a double stack gun in a single stack holster, it's only going to get so far before stopping. So if you're looking for a one-stop holster shop solution, so one holster for all your guns, that's going to be very difficult in the 1911, 2011 world, but the Certum 3 does well for 2011s and some 1911s. Now, if you want to carry your 2011 with a weapon light, and I'd recommend the X300, they also make from Tenacor the Malice Sol, which has the same ride height and retention system as their Certum 3, but it also accepts your X300. I got the Commander version because if I'm carrying the gun, I want it to be as little plastic as possible down at the bottom, as a little extra Kydex. So if I'm carrying a full-size gun, it's only going to stick out a little bit more. If I'm carrying a Staccato P with an X300, it's going to fit right in there, no problem. And if I'm carrying a Triarch with the X300, I'm also going to have it fit in there, no problem. Now, here's the next thing that you're going to run into with holsters though, on 2011s is what kind of optic are you running and where is it sitting? Because this gun, as much as it looks like it's in the holster, it actually isn't all the way in there because the SRO hood is actually pushing up against, you can see right here, the SRO hood is actually pushing up against the sweat guard because the SRO hood is sitting so much further forward. Now, why doesn't that happen on the Staccato? Well, because this is the SRO on top of the Cabot red dot mount that Staccato or that Vulcan Machine Works uses. So it gets all the way in there and you have clearance. Same thing goes for the Alchemy Quantico high cap. So as far as the most universal 2011 with X300 appendix holster, the Malice Sol from Tenacor seems to have all the points. As a side note, I did take off this little retention button thing, whatever they have here, to kind of flatten it out because this holster is already getting big and I actually kind of want my pants to wrap around it. It just creates a little bit more bulk than I want pushing up against my belt. Now I know there's other companies like QVO, Tactical, there's a lot of other holster manufacturers out there for appendix inside the waistband. I'm just showing you the collection that I've amassed and what I've tried and what seems to work. Now, if you want to be gangster and rock your 2011 3 o'clock outside the waistband, there are a couple of options. I'm going to start with this holster from RDR Gear called the Torch, and it's called the Torch because it accepts a weapon light. You can go onto their website, customize it to get everything. I did a 5-inch 2011 with X300, and it seems to be the most universal fit for all slide top profiles, so you can get this here Staccato in there. You can also get the round top Alchemy Quantico high cap in there. Boom, you're good to go. And you can get a tri-top slide with X300 full size or Commander in there. However, the one thing you're going to run into is the slide top profile is not going to be a problem, but if you're using the Trijicon mount or any mount with an SRO that puts the hood over the ejection port, it's not going to actually click in and retain. So you're going to need to use an RMR or some optic that sits further back on the slide. This holster comes with either 1.5 or 1 3/4, I believe, belt loop holes, and it really does pancake nice against your body. Just bear in mind that when you're carrying a 2011 at 3 o'clock, it's going to print no matter, unless you're like a giant. I can do this in winter and sort of get away with it with a jacket, but it's not going to be the most concealed. Appendix is obviously going to be the best way to go there. Now, if you want to go with something else outside the waistband, maybe with a QLS system, or you want to have a paddle, LAS Concealment makes the Tizona, I believe this is called. Now, the thing about the Tizona is they only have it set up, as far as I'm aware, on their website for tri-top slides. So this is going to work perfectly with an X300 on a full size or Commander, Tri-Arc, any tri-top, and it does allow for the SRO to be mounted in there, and it does have full retention, as you can see here. So this is going to be the best option for a tri-top slide. However, round tops are going to have a little bit of trouble getting in there. It is very snug, and it's not a smooth insert and release. And when you get to a full round top like the Quantico High Cap, it is even more snug. So it's definitely going to be putting more pressure on it because it's designed for a tri-top. So keep that in mind on the Tizona. As of this point, I haven't talked about leather holsters, and that's because I've never had a leather holster for a 2011, but I will mention the Southern Trapper. Go to their website. They have a lot of different holster options. I haven't personally tested them, but contact them, reach out. Those guys over there do, from what I can tell, an excellent job making leather. So if you want a leather holster for your 2011 and just want to rock it that way, talk to them and see what they can come up with for you, but no guarantees that it's going to have a perfect fit. The nice thing about leather is it's going to protect your finish if you have a blued gun like the Quantico High Cap, but I like blued guns when they start getting a little bit of honest wear, so maybe that's not a concern for you. Now, as far as additional outside the waistband holsters go, you can have some custom made. Every single gun shop, you can walk in and ask who the local Kydex guy is to make custom made holsters. That's what I got here. This was the first 2011 holster that I had made for a gun that I no longer have. And doesn't have the best retention, but it is definitely serviceable. I used it for USPSA matches and whatnot. So it's just a custom molded taco holster, and most of the time these guys are going to tape your gun up and actually mold a holster for your gun, using an oven and presses and all that stuff. So it's the old school way of doing it, but it can still produce a very good holster if you want to make sure that you get one that fits your gun and goes exactly where you want it to go. Now, the last thing we need to talk about is duty holsters. So the OG gold standard, I don't even know if it's OG, but the gold standard for duty holsters right now, what I've seen is going to be Safariland, and or people are going to be rocking Blackhawk. And they both offer options for 2011s. However, there are some caveats on the Safariland side. So I'll start here. This is a 6390 RDS level 2 retention holster, and it is actually not made for a 2011. So I'll talk about that real quick. Safariland does offer 6390 RDS holsters for Staccatos, and they offer it for the P in 4.4 inch or 4.25 inch. Maybe they have something else that I'm not aware of, but when I started looking into duty holsters, that was all I found. Well, if you have a Staccato P, no problem. Just bear in mind that the one that Safariland offers will not work with an SRO. Not that you would run an SRO if you're on duty, because this is not the most durable optic, but maybe you are. So, it's not going to work with that unless you use the Cabot plate milled by Vulcan Machine Works that allows it to get low and far enough back on the Staccato P. You can use an RMR, you can use other red dots that don't go out over the ejection port, because remember, the ejection port is going to be the retention point for the ALS system on the Safariland 6390. So you can go to Safariland and get it for the 4.4 or the 4.25 inch P, and you can have your red dot and you can have your light, just no SRO unless you got the right mount. However, if you have a 5-inch gun and you want to run a 5-inch 2011 in a Safariland holster with the ALS system, QLS, attachment system, all that stuff, RDR Gear does do a mod for, I believe this is a M&P 2.0 holster, to make it so that it works. The positives on this are if your department is only authorizing Safariland stuff, this is the only way you can run a 5-inch gun. Also, one of the interesting things about the Safariland holster is the way the ALS system is designed. When your thumb goes over it and you push down to defeat the retention, you have a natural tendency for your thumb to push the thumb safety off as you're drawing the gun. So I don't know if that's a quirk or a feature, but it does make your draw times a little bit faster to go from defeating retention to getting the safety off on a manual safety gun. They have the level 2 and the level 3 version. I like the level 2 because the hood, the motion of sweeping that extra hood forward seems to slow me down. And I'm a LARPer. I don't really need level 3 retention, but that can be done with the Safariland. Now, drawbacks to this, once again, on most 2011s, it's not going to work with SROs unless you have the Cabot mount or some other mount that pushes the dot far enough back and low enough so that it clears the hood and it's not over the ejection port. So Safariland, big plus, but really to get the 5-inch, you're going to have to go to RDR Gear, and they're going to have to do a mod for you, and they'll wrap it and make it look really cool. I don't care, so I just got black. Now, the option that I actually recommend most for 2011s, if you want level 2 or level 3 retention in a duty holster, is the Blackhawk holster for Staccatos. This has fit everything that I have put into it. And it is a level 3, so it does have a hood, but the nice thing about it is it's got active retention and the hood. There's 2 buttons, and when you draw, your hand goes down, you push the 2 buttons, and it's going to automatically flip that hood forward, and then you draw the gun. Now, your thumb is not going to be naturally in that spot to flick the safety off, but I would say that's probably a pretty decent trade-off to have something that is so fast and really is the fastest level 3 holster or even level 2 holster that I've tried. So the Blackhawk is good. Another drawback is if you are using QLS system, so I have a QLS leg drop so that I can swap holsters off if I'm testing stuff. Obviously, Blackhawk has their own system and it won't fit, but if you're not afraid to drill into plastic things, you can kind of make it work and sort of set it up with your own cant, but it is kind of jerry-rigged. And you know, if you're a cop, they may not allow you to do that at your department running Safariland and whatnot. So you might just have to get a Blackhawk rig and all that stuff and get set up there. But more positives on this is this Blackhawk is the most universal I've seen, works on 5-inch guns, whether it's round top, flat top, tri-top. You do have to have an X300 on here, and they have some other lights that it'll work with as well. I don't know why you'd run any of those, but it does work with the X300, and every single optic combination that I've tried outside of the Aimpoint Acro. I haven't tried Acros in it, but it's just a giant transformer looking thing. So the possibility is that you could even get an Acro to fit under it. The hood may not close, so maybe not level 3, but at least the level 2 would work with it. So hopefully that's given you some stuff to think about on 2011 holsters. If you have any other recommendations for a specific gun, post in the comments below so anyone who's searching for a specific holster for a specific gun can search through there. I've actually found comment sections to be pretty helpful in learning stuff. And hopefully that at least scratched the surface for you on what 2011 holster to purchase.